But speaking of PvP, hopefully this one will be a little wild, a little wonky, and a lot of fun. We shall see. Two of the strongest Protosses in Europe. In the upper left-hand corner of Ghost River here, we have Hearthstone playing for the Shopify Rebellion. El Capitan, often known as the Cowboy. His opponent in the upper right-hand corner. In the blue for Team Liquid, it is Skillous. Skillous has had some strong results this year. Did really well at the Stars War tournament. And other than that, has taken down some big-name players. Just a few weeks ago, he took down Clem in one of these weeklies. And, you know, just consistently a threat to, you know, win the finals of the weeklies every week. Gonna be a bit of a tough one for Hearthstone. It is PvP, though, and it's hard for me to weight PvP properly. Like, I might favor Skillous in a lot of matches, but God, this matchup is just, it's a tough one. I think the European PvP is a little more plotted out, a little more standard usually, and a little bit less wild, unless again you have a player like Goblin who can make things a little bit weirder. Maxbax also often lends himself to some of the weirder, more niche games just because he tends to be very greedy, and so he can force other players into being aggressive, or they'll both end up being greedy, and then you get into a PvP situation, which we just don't see very often, which is not a lot of aggression. Games can get a little bit weird, but I feel like for the most part, European PvP, pretty by the books. Pretty by the books here. Now, Skillous is opening up double Sentry, and this is only possible because of that Sentry change. Otherwise, these two Adepts would be just a massive threat to Skillous right now. But because Sentries, you know, they don't die nearly as quickly to Adepts anymore, Skillous can afford to do this. Open triple Sentry, and then into some Stalkers. I like when a player leaves the door open for the Adepts, because it's like, yeah, come on in. Don't worry, buddy. You'll kill those probes. You just let that shade finish. Very inviting. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to spot this Oracle, and we'll chase it. Skillous trying to come out and meet it headway. Headway? Head on? Head on. Apply directly to forehead. Yeah, some good movement here from Skillous, just fully defending that Oracle. I love the second Phoenix, which is just here to chase it and make sure he doesn't lose track of it. Continuing to block out these Adepts from getting into the main. And yeah, this Oracle's not going to be able to get too much done. That being said, a second Oracle is out here for Hearthstone, and he's finishing up the Twilight Council so he can get into his own Blink. Now, Hearthstone's actual army is a little less powerful. Oh, the Adepts get in. The Oracle's going to come in at the same time. That is going to be 4 dead probes. So Hearthstone finding some damage here. I was just going to say, because Hearthstone's army is not quite as strong, right? A little bit later on Stalker production, later on Blink production. Doesn't have the Sentries, which are just a nice addition in any Protoss army. He kind of needs to get a little bit of harassment done to equalize that, because otherwise Skillous is just going to have the advantage in pretty much every way. So finally getting some of that damage done, and these 2 Oracles still sharking around. There's 2 Stalkers here, but man, that is still going to be only 1 dead probe. I thought for sure he'd get 2 or 3. Doesn't want to stick around too long, though. Still, Hearthstone taking the slight lead here. No third base just yet, though. Skillous has that third on the way. Hearthstone maybe wants to wait for Blink. Has to know he's behind in that regard. This Twilight Council's been done for a while for Skillous. Skillous could try to put some pressure on with these Blink Stalkers as well. Oh, I like the Stasis Ward here. The fake probe finds the real probe. Oh, look at all these probes around. Hearthstone, like, why are you sacrificing all your probes? I love the probe scouting here from Skillas. So here's a fun fact if you didn't know. When you hallucinate a unit like a Phoenix, you get one hallucinated Phoenix to send out onto the map. But you can hallucinate any Protoss unit. You can hallucinate a probe. But when you hallucinate a probe, you get 4 of them. So in terms of scouting, like we just saw for Skillas, that's very high value. Just, you know, one hallucination, and you get 4 probes to scout around the map. Now, Hearthstone never took that third base. Hearthstone's just been building Stalkers. And I believe Skillas has realized that, especially as Hearthstone is coming across the map now. The tag on the army means Hearthstone can see exactly what he's up against. He is going to fight into this a little bit. Now, the shield battery is helping keep Skillas alive. Second shield battery on the way. The natural, though, in some trouble. Oh, my God. The Immortal's stuck. The Immortal is stuck. He finally kills the pylon. Depowering one of the gateways here for Skillas at a crucial moment. The Immortal's going to get jumped on by the Stalkers. One goes down. The second one goes down. Stasis Trap catches a few Stalkers as well. And Hearthstone is going to blink on top of Skillas' army. Oracle's coming in to help with that extra little bit of DPS as Skillas pulls back to some of that shield battery energy. Hearthstone still has a lot of Stalkers here, though, and he's going to blink on top of Skillas once again. Hearthstone continuing to reinforce, more Stalkers coming in for Skillas as well. He has repowered that one gateway, so he has his weapons available. Probe's getting pulled to fight as he's feeling the pressure here. Hearthstone's army, a lot of these Stalkers a little bit low on hit points. The Stalkers from the Stasis Trap come over from the top side, as well as another Immortal. Skillas starting to hold on. Now, 11 probes did go down there. So economically, while Hearthstone doesn't have the third base, Skillas is not in that great of a spot either. Is there a shield battery overcharge available? Yes. Yes. As long as he has energy somewhere. It just came off cooldown. He could try to use that here, as a few Zealots have gotten warped in as well. Would not hate to see him pop that overcharge here near the start of this fight. There's the overcharge to try to help this out. Hearthstone going to pull back. He wants to get him away from that shield battery and force him to come over and try to defend that natural base. As, again, more Zealots coming in. These Zealots just tank so much while Hearthstone Stalkers do the real work. And as the Zealots die, the Stalkers blink forward. They get the Immortal. The shield battery overcharge is gone. Most of Skillas' Stalkers have died. Is there enough here for Hearthstone to push through? So more Stalkers and another Immortal coming from the top side. The probe's getting pulled again. 6 more going down, but again with the third base, Skillas is actually okay to lose some probes, as long as he can stay alive. He's going to take down those frontline Zealots. The Stalker count is getting very low for Hearthstone, and he is going to be forced to tap out as Skillas takes game number 1, just barely holding there. The probe pull, absolutely clutch. Some really good moves from Hearthstone. Again, pulling him away from the shield battery, pulling him towards the natural, getting on top of those first 2 Immortals. But it just wasn't quite enough, as Skillas is able to hold and just able to get enough units out. Just waiting for the game 2 lobby. Does look like Showtime versus Fiant might have just ended. Winner of that's going to be facing Christianer. Mana still waiting for Spirit Azura, I believe. MaxPax has already defeated Goblin. He is in the semifinals, waiting for this match to end. So we will have a semis to get into after this one. We'll get to cast the MaxPax games, even if the other casters are tired of them. I don't actually get to cast much max pack, so I'm perfectly happy with that situation. But let's see if we get a game 3 here. Gonna be up to this guy. Spawning in the upper left-hand corner of Oceanborn. Down 0-1 in the series. It is Harstem. Shopify Rebel. He's up against the team Liquid Protoss in the blue. Skillus. So Harstem getting very aggressive in game 1. I think Skillus just with the triple sentry opener had so much information. It can be really difficult to take out a player with that much information available to them, because Skillus just kept scouting. Hallucinated Phoenixes going across, was able to follow the Oracle and not take too much damage from those Oracles. The probes getting sent out at one point. Skillus just kind of had a good read on what was going on through most of that game, which I think is, obviously very important. Scouting is a really important skill to have in StarCraft, as I've heard Tasteless and Artosis talk about. It's a game of imperfect information. You don't always know what your opponent is doing. You're never going to know everything about what your opponent is doing. You do have to make some assumptions, but the more information you have, the stronger those assumptions can be. And, these guys are really good. They understand what their opponent is capable of based on, how many probes they have, how long they've been mining, state of the game, how many buildings they have, how many units they have. Can make good judgment calls based on that information. It can be fun to see that information used against players too. Sometimes we'll see specific things done so that a player will scout and make an assumption, but the assumption is wrong. I like there's some early pool builds where you transfer your drones down to the natural, but really you stopped building drones a while ago. It's just so that when they scout the natural, they see, okay, this is a regularly saturated natural base, right? Normal amount of drones, no problem. When realistically, there's just lings coming out. And that can be a fun little bamboozle. That's why we see, things like hidden production. Oh, it's just, you scout in. It's like, okay, it's just 2 gateways, Twilight Council and a Robo, no problem. And then, up on the corner of the map, there's 3 more gates, and there's a proxy somewhere. Playing with those assumptions, playing with that imperfect information. This is just some pressure here from Skillus. He did open double Adept, double Stalker, and Harstem is the one with triple Sentry this time. But Harstem also has a shield battery, so he should be pretty well settled here. Oh, there you go. Some nice force fields. Skillus just deciding to trade with a couple of those sentries, and he does get 2 of the sentries for 2 adepts, which I think is well worth it. Skillus almost sending these sentries just up to their death. Would have been very painful. And it's Robo first here for Harstem, so he's going to be pumping out an Immortal as Blink starts up on the other side of the map for Skillus. Blink is the more robust upgrade to get, rather than going for Immortals. Immortals can be very strong in the early game against a small number of Stalkers. Usually after Blink, we do see a couple of Immortals getting built, just to kind of power up the base of the army as you get into, like, Charge, maybe into Archons a little bit later, things of that nature. But if the players do both decide to go Blink Stalkers, there comes a point where Immortals are just not good. Like, it's actively not a good thing to have in your army. Mainly because they don't get Blink. Can you imagine if Immortals got Blink? What if there was like a super late game upgrade? Or like a Robo Bay upgrade, where if you had Blink and you get this upgrade on the Robo Bay, the Immortals get Blink also. Imagine how good that would be. But you'd have to get Blink first, and then also get the Robo-Bay and get that Blink. Oh, Hearthstone trying to do the same trick with the probes, which are immediately scouted and killed by Skillous, who is putting this pressure on. Blink about to finish for Skillous as he wants to take this third out. Now, Hearthstone was planning a cheeky attack here. He's got Glaives halfway done. But Skillous is trying to get in here before that finishes. Oh my god, he's going to jump on top of the Immortal. He's going to get the Immortal before the Prism gets there. Oh, and Skillous getting on top of Hearthstone's army. The Prism goes down. There's just not enough here for Hearthstone. The one Immortal wasn't enough. Okay, a second Immortal pops out. Might be able to keep this Nexus alive. I think probes might have to get pulled. This is still very painful for Hearthstone, though. As some more Stalkers come in, the Immortal taking a lot of damage. Stays alive. But the Nexus is getting hit now. This is so perilous. There's the blink in one more time. And that's one more dead Immortal. And two more Gs coming out here as Hearthstone's plans cut short, cut out from under him. Skillous sensing an opportunity to get in on that third base. He had his own third coming up. Back at home, he was not all in or even that committed with that. Just an extra couple warping rounds. The earlier blink gets in there and forces Hearthstone to make the tough decisions. Do I defend my third and potentially lose my army, or do I let the third die? Turns out losing the army was what ended up happening. GG. Skillous takes the 2-0 victory.